Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more.
From the age of 13, my life took a peculiar turn. My family, a typical middle-class bunch, had a curious tradition. Every 3-day weekend, the men, including my dad and now my older brother John since he turned 13, would vanish on what they called men's-only outings. I learned from my cousins that this ritual extended across our extended family: uncles, cousins, all the men over 13 disappeared like clockwork. Curious about this tradition, I asked my mom why they all left. "It's a chance for them to unwind, away from the world," she explained, revealing it had persisted for generations, keeping our family remarkably free of divorces. When I pressed about what they actually did, she simply said, "I know, and it doesn't bother me. Your dad comes back happy, and that's what matters." Concerned about fidelity, I cautiously asked if she worried about infidelity. "No," she assured me. "We have an agreement. I don't pry into their outings, and in return, they remain faithful." On the eve of my 13th birthday, with Labor Day approaching, I faced my impending first outing. It was still summer vacation, and as I woke up on my birthday, I sought counsel from Uncle Ben, a lawyer by profession, and my father and brother were conspicuously absent. "Dean, there are things you need to understand," Ben began. "I'm guessing this is about the men's outings, right?" I inquired. "Yes, it is. I'm not going to spill anything about the weekends. You'll find out about them this weekend," he replied. "Then why are we here talking?" I pressed. "Primarily to handle the paperwork," he explained. "What paperwork is needed just to go somewhere?" I asked. "To start with, we need to establish your trust fund and have you sign a contract with the other male family members," Ben clarified. "A trust fund? This is news to me," I remarked. "Every male family member under 21 has one. On your 21st birthday, it's yours, provided you uphold the contract you signed today," he elaborated. "How much is in the fund? And what contract are we talking about?" I probed. "It's $100,000. The contract concerns secrecy about the outings. If you talk about them outside the male family members, you forfeit your trust fund. Even among ourselves, we don't discuss the outings outside the lodge. Your father and brother don't even talk about them alone together," Ben detailed. "What's so secretive about these outings? And who started them?" I questioned. "I can't say why the secrecy. Your great-great-grandfather Micah began them with his brothers and other male family members," Ben revealed. "I've noticed you and my uncles who married into the family attend these outings. Why is that?" I queried. "We're invited after marrying into the family. We also sign a contract and establish a trust that we can access on our 8th anniversary," he answered. "So if my sister never marries, she never gets any money." I sought clarification. "If a girl isn't married by 25, she receives the same amount," Ben confirmed. "What if I decide to forget the trust fund and spill everything?" I posed. "There are other penalties, though nobody's tried to leave the outings as far as I know. I suggest you experience your first outing before considering breaking the contract." I thought the idea was crazy until my first outing. A year after marrying, I realized how it keeps your aunt and me in love. It also strengthens father-son relationships. Your cousin Brian and I have been struggling, but I've seen how these outings help others. I can't wait for November 9th, Brian's first outing. I'm counting down the days on my calendar," Ben shared. We continued our discussion for another hour before Uncle Ben slid the contract across the table for me to sign. As he departed, Uncle Ben remarked, "I'll see you Friday, Deanne." There was more, but I missed it. The anticipation was excruciating. Each day felt like Christmas Eve when I was a kid struggling to fall asleep. Finally, Friday arrived, and I began counting down the hours until departure. I knew we'd leave shortly after 4 in the afternoon, a routine my dad always followed. While waiting, I noticed something and asked John about it. "Shouldn't we be packing?" I questioned. We don't need a thing. Everything will be provided, he assured me. Time seemed to drag. Sometimes it felt like an hour had passed when only minutes had gone by. Finally, the clock struck 3, one more hour to go. It was akin to the last hour of school before summer vacation, multiplied by 10. The anticipation was palpable. John observed my restlessness. Don't worry, Dean. We'll be leaving soon. And once we arrive, you'll see it was worth the wait, he comforted me. Then, I heard Dad's car in the driveway. He'll take about 10 minutes to change, and then we're off, John informed me. 10 minutes later, we were all in the car, engaging in typical family chatter during the journey. Despite my attempts to steer the conversation, nothing was said about the outings. We drove for 2 hours, the last half hour winding through dense woods. We're here, Dad finally announced. Here? All I see is a barbed wire fence, I remarked. The property beyond that fence belongs to the family. The lodge where we'll be staying is 1.5 miles up this road, John explained. Since everyone's coming this weekend, the 3 of us will share my room, Dad reminded my brother. Noticing my uncertainty, John reassured me. Normally, on a regular weekend, we have separate rooms. Sharing won't change a thing. We arrived at the lodge, which was more than I expected. It wasn't just a cozy 10-guest place but spacious enough for over 200 without feeling crowded. We own this? I asked incredulously. The family owns the lodge and the surrounding 2,000 acres, Dad confirmed. It ensures complete privacy. Reflecting on what Uncle Ben had told me 3 days earlier, I asked, if we're not super rich, why do we live like middle-class citizens? The answer goes back 8 generations. Our ancestor, Matthew Smith, believed in self-sufficiency. He set up the estate so the family as a whole benefits, not just one individual, Uncle Ben explained. So after college, I'll start with nothing? I queried. No, firstly, you'll have your trust fund. Secondly, the family will cover your college expenses for as long as needed, including medical school if that's your path. Someone must have mentioned my interest in becoming a doctor. So, no student loans to worry about. Thirdly, you can borrow from the family fund without fear of foreclosure by a bank. Repayment happens when you're able, not under strict deadlines. Both men and women, as well as widows or widowers of the family, have access to college and loan funds. The family fortune is another topic we don't discuss. When we pulled into the parking lot, only one car was there. At least we're not the first ones here, I remarked. The others won't arrive until 7. Usually, everyone comes as soon as they can. It's only when we introduce someone new that there's a specific arrival time, Dad explained. Whose car is that? I inquired. That belongs to your great-uncle Walter. He's the lodge caretaker, John replied. I'd met great-uncle Walter once, 8 years ago at his wife's funeral. Dad led us straight to our room. We use this room only when a new family member joins the outing, he said, opening the double doors. The room surprised me. It was enormous, easily fitting 4 of my bedrooms with space to spare. The size startled me, but what shocked me most was the decor. I expected something rustic, like a hunting lodge, but it resembled my 15-year-old sister Julia's room. There were 3 canopy beds with lacy bedspreads, 3 vanity tables with mirrors, and what looked like makeup. The walls were a light pink, and the carpet had a blush tone. The room seemed more suited to a woman than a man. Dean, let's sit and talk, Dad said, pointing to a vanity chair. John, why don't you go get dressed in the bathroom while Dean and I chat? Dad suggested. Sure, Dad, John replied, grabbing things from the chest of drawers and something from the closet before leaving. I want to ask you something, and I want the truth, Dad began. Have you ever tried on your mom's or Julia's clothes? I tried to mumble a response. Dean, I want the truth, he insisted. Have you tried on their things? I have, I blurted out, my face flushing. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. Your mother and I are aware, he reassured me. As for Julia, she probably knows too. If you knew, Why didn't you bring it up before? I asked. For now let's just say I know and that I am pleased with you for trying on those clothes. Then he asked, did you like wearing them? Yes, I did. They felt very nice and comfortable in a strange way, I answered. Then I asked, why did you ask if I like them or not? I just wanted to know if you would like to wear them now, he asked me. Are you crazy? With all of our relatives around, how could I ever explain that I am wearing panties? I just thought you might not want to be out of place, Dad said. Out of place? What are you talking about? I wondered. He didn't say a word as he stood up, unbuckled his pants, and pulled them down. I just sat there opened mouth. I didn't say a word for a solid minute. My dad was wearing panties. If you are not wearing panties and the other feminine things, you will be out of place, my dad told me. By the look on your face you still don't believe me. Let me show you. He then turned towards the bathroom. Joni, are you ready? He said. Yes, I am Jenny, replied my brother. I did notice the use of feminine names. The person who stepped out of the bathroom was not the same brother who had gone in there 15 minutes before. A teenage girl came out of the bathroom. Dean, what do you think? Asked the girl. The voice was John's. John, I exclaimed. During the outings, my name is Joni. This is the big secret about the outings. The men of our family get a chance to dress and be their feminine selves while they are here. Why? How? Who? I blurted out. My mind was still in a state of shock. Why? Most men like the feel of women's clothing but are afraid to say or do anything about it. How and who is your great-great-grandfather Micah? He set these outings when he found out he and his 2 brothers had the same interest in wearing women's clothing, my dad answered. Does Mom and Julia know about this? A question I needed to know. Your mom does, I told her 3 months into our marriage. It is left up to the husbands to tell their wives. Julia wasn't told but might have figured it out. Her husband might tell her, but that will up to him. Why would Mom agree to this? I asked. She didn't have much to say since I have been going to outings since I was 13. She doesn't really care as long as I don't break the 3 rules she set forth. 1. I only dress up at the outings. 2. I don't get involved with any other women. That is an easy one. I love your mom so much that I would never look at another woman sideways. 3. Our sons will be given the choice of joining the outings or not. Explain number 3, please, I needed to know more. I can bring you and John to the outing once. After that, it's up to you whether you want to come or not, Dad said. Before my first outing, I never thought about trying on panties. Then Dad brought me here and asked me to try it just once. Over the last 4 years and 5 months since my first outing, I've missed only 4 of them, John explained. So if I don't join the outings, the trust fund, college, and loan money won't disappear? I clarified. No, they won't. The outings are for those who want to participate. No one is forced. The funds will be available as scheduled. You will lose the trust and the rest if you ever reveal the outing secret to anyone, including your sister or the girl you want to marry, until after the wedding, Dad replied. So, the question is, are you going to get dressed or wear the same clothes all weekend? Dad asked. What do you mean by that? I asked. Where are my things? I inquired. That chest has your bras, panties, and other items. The closet has enough clothes for all 3 of us, John, or rather Joni, clarified. Dad, don't forget the package from Mom. Dad entered the walk-in closet and returned with something covered in plastic on a hanger. Your mom thought you might like to wear this tonight. I tried to peek under the plastic. Wait until you can put it on, Dad advised. Quickly, I removed my clothes and opened the top drawer of the dresser, finding a stack of white panties and bras. Everything was white. Don't I get to wear some colored underclothes? I asked. Not for the first year. After that, there will be more variety, Joni explained. I picked the top pair of panties and bra from the stack. Looking at the bra, I noticed it was padded. Seeing my puzzled expression as I held the bra, Dad spoke up. The bra is padded to give the appearance of a feminine chest. Most girls start to develop around the age of 13. I felt very embarrassed standing there in front of Dad and Joni. At least you've tried on panties before, Deanna. I didn't until I was in this room, Joni reassured me. Why did you call me Deanna? I asked. Earlier, I noticed Dad called you Joni and you called Dad Jenny. It's the name you would have been given if you were born a girl, my dad explained. The tradition is to use our newly given girlish names during the outings. I returned to the dresser, searching for something I had always wanted to try but was afraid to. What are you looking for, Deanna? Dad asked. My nylons, I replied. You can stop looking, there aren't any. You won't be allowed to wear nylons until you're 14. No heels either. Until then, it's knee socks and Mary Janes for you. Why so many restrictions? I really want to know, I said. You're the little darling of the outing. That is, until the next person joins us, which will be Cousin Brian in November, Dad explained, slightly disappointing me. Since most girls usually match their dress and knee socks, I asked, what color is my dress so I can pick out the right socks? I see through your little trick, Deanna. You're trying to get another look at that dress. Pick your socks after you put on the dress, Joni responded. I noticed Dad had left the room for the first time. He's in the bathroom getting dressed himself, Joni informed me. Trying another approach, I said, I'm ready to put on the dress. Not yet, you need to put on a slip first, then a touch of makeup, Joni instructed. Makeup? I get to wear makeup? I asked excitedly. A little blush, lipstick, and eyeshadow, nothing fancy, my sister replied. At that moment, a perfect copy of my mother walked out of the bathroom. Hi, girls. It was my dad. Please, Deanna, don't tell your mom I tried to look like her, Dad asked. I won't, Jenny, I replied, remembering how Joni had called Dad earlier. They both showed me how to apply my makeup. We'll show you this weekend, but next time you'll be on your own, Deanna, Jenny told me. Show Deanna the letter from Mom while you and I finish our makeup, Joni reminded Jenny. I almost forgot, Jenny said, turning towards me and handing me a letter. Your mom wrote this for you, Deanna. My dearest Deanna. I write this letter out of love for you. I have known about these outings since before Joni was born, and I fully support their purpose. Your dad has come to understand the woman's perspective better than any man I know, which has greatly strengthened our marriage. I hope these outings help you and your dad work through any challenges you're facing. I hope you enjoy the dress I sent. I know how much you admired it when Julia used to wear it, it's the same one. With all my love. Mom. Before Jenny and Joni could intervene, I had already removed the plastic from the dress. It was the dress of my dreams, one I had admired countless times when Julia wore it, even suggesting it for her at my 11th birthday party. The dress was almost transparent, a light yellow color with a snug top showcasing the chest and a flowing skirt below. In certain light, it revealed a subtle shadow of the wearer's body. Both Jenny and Joni turned to watch as I stepped into the dress. If the look on my face matched my feelings, it must have been sheer bliss, as words couldn't describe the exhilaration I felt. Now for the pièce de résistance, Jenny said, opening a wig box. She retrieved a light brown, almost blonde wig with numerous curls. As the wig was placed on my head, a bell rang throughout the lodge. What's that? I asked. The others have arrived and had time to dress. The bell calls us all to gather in the dining hall, Joni explained. Shouldn't we go? I was untroubled by the idea of meeting all my male relatives while dressed as a girl, knowing they too would be similarly attired. Not yet. There will be a second bell in 10 minutes, giving everyone a chance to gather so we can formally present you, Jenny replied. How many will be here tonight? For a 3-day weekend with a new member joining, about 90% of your male relatives above 13 will be dressed similarly. A question that had been on my mind finally surfaced. Do any of them cross-dress at home, or dress full-time? There are about 5 or 6 who dress up occasionally, usually only with their wives present. Uncle Walter is the only one who dresses full-time, which is why he's the caretaker of the lodge, Jenny replied. Jenny, you forgot the photograph, Joni exclaimed. A photograph? You're going to take a picture of me? I asked, somewhat shocked. Dressed like this? Everyone has their photo taken for the family album on their first outing, Jenny explained. The album goes back to Micah and his brothers. This way you can see what everyone looked like on their first time, added Joni. The bell rang a second time. That's our cue, my dad said, turning to give me further instructions. Deanna, I want you to wait outside the dining hall until I call you in. Don't worry, all first-timers have to wait outside, Joni reassured me. So there I stood, watching as my cross-dressed father and brother entered the dining hall. I didn't have to wait long. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you all at the men's-only outing, my daughter, Deanna, announced my dad. I then walked into a room filled with my cross-dressed male relatives. A spotlight illuminated me as I entered. As you can see, she has embraced our lifestyle here at the outings. Before I could find a seat, my dad interrupted. Deanna, please stay where you are. The others want to come up and introduce themselves to you. Most of them I recognized by their masculine names, though they used both their masculine and feminine names. One I recognized immediately was my Uncle Ben. Hi, Deanna, I'm your Uncle Betty. The last to introduce herself was Rose, who had married my cousin Charlotte last June. I'm glad you're here. It was my first outing just last month, and with you here, I'm not the newest little darling anymore, she said. And so began my journey with these family outings, where we men could freely express ourselves as women without fear of our secret being revealed. We spent our time engaging in activities around the lodge and on the grounds, from swimming in our private lake in swimsuits or bikinis to ice skating on our own rink in feminine skating outfits. The outings provided us a space to embody our feminine selves among like-minded individuals. By my second outing just a month later, my dad and I had resolved our differences, and even Julia and I were fighting less. That was 25 years ago. Today, I'm driving towards the outing with a couple of passengers. My twin boys just celebrated their 13th birthday a week ago. I achieved my dream of becoming a pediatrician, thanks to the family covering all my education costs and providing a no-interest loan to help start my practice. I revealed the truth about the outings to my wife 2 weeks after we married. I offered to stop attending if she wished, but she wisely saw how beneficial they were for our relationship and marriage. She even enjoys when I dress up at home occasionally, especially when we have private time together. Our love is as strong as the day we married. My brother John now lives on the West Coast, so he rarely attends the outings. Joni usually shows up on the 3-day weekends. It will be some time before John brings one of his 3 beautiful daughters to their first outing. He'll be here this weekend to welcome the newest members. Julia's husband will also be here, eagerly anticipating when his son turns 13 in 6 months. Julia confided in me before her marriage that she knew about the outings long before I did. Unfortunately, both of my parents were killed by a drunk driver 3 years ago. Thankfully, my sons and daughter had the chance to know them. The big question remains, how do I tell my sons that their dad enjoys dressing up in women's clothing? My dad had already gone through this with my brother. Dad, could you tell us more about these outings? Asked Denny. Cousin Brian didn't tell us much at the meeting. He wasn't supposed to. His role was handling the paperwork for the trust fund and such, I explained. I don't see why we have to come anyway, said Danny. It's a family tradition, for one. I've been attending these outings for over 25 years, spanning 5 generations. Plus, they're a lot of fun, I tried to convince them. Here's the deal, if you don't enjoy this outing, it'll be the only one you'll have to attend. But if we don't come, we lose the trust fund, right? Asked Danny. The trust fund remains yours as long as you keep the outings confidential, even from family members like me outside the grounds, I assured them. We won't talk about them, Dad. Is it true we won't need the trust fund for college? Queried Denny. And we can use the money any way we want after we turn 21. The family will cover your college expenses, just like they did for me through medical school. They even helped me set up my practice, I answered, noticing Danny mimicking driving with his hands. What are you doing, Danny? I'm practicing driving the car I'll buy on my 21st birthday, he replied. Stop dreaming, we're here, I announced. Dad, how big is this place? Asked Denny. It spans around 2,500 acres. There's a small lake we'll use for swimming and other activities, I explained. How many relatives will be here? Danny inquired. Since it's only a 2-day weekend, I estimate around 75 people. When we have a 3-day weekend, the number jumps to almost 200. Some relatives can't make it for just 2 days. Like Uncle John? Asked Denny. But you said he's coming this weekend. He's making a special trip because it's your first outing. I've asked him to meet us here, I explained. Why did you ask him to meet us? Are we going to be the first ones there? Asked Danny, remembering a past awkward experience arriving early for a party. That's how it's done. First-timers arrive an hour earlier. The others will be here at 7, I reassured Danny. As we pulled into the parking lot, I spotted 2 cars. Knowing the caretaker had only one, I recognized the other as John's. At least Uncle John made it. I hope he's ready for what I asked him to do, I thought to myself. Dad, will we have to hang out with you and the older folks all the time, or can we play with kids our own age? Asked Denny. The first night, we usually spend time together. After that, you're free to do your own thing, I replied. Will Kirk be there? Asked Danny. Definitely. Brian's son Kirk attended his first outing 2 months ago. Brian mentioned Kirk counts down the days on his calendar to each outing. If I can't make it, you'll probably ride up with Kirk and Brian. And vice versa if Kirk's dad can't make it, I explained. Knowing there would be at least one boy their age at the outings perked my boys up. As we passed through the lobby, Denny asked, shouldn't we check in? No need. Only the master bedroom is assigned to newcomers. After the first outing, you'll be assigned to a 2-person room. You'll share a room like you've always wanted, I said with a smile. Both boys were amazed by the size of the master room, perhaps more by its size than its contents. I heard a soft tap on the bathroom door, signaling that Joni was in position and awaiting my signal. Please take a seat, I instructed the boys. Then I asked, do you notice anything different about this room besides the size? After taking a moment to look around, they both almost simultaneously replied, this room looks more like it's meant for a woman than a man. All the rooms in the lodge are like this one, I informed them. Why is that? Asked Danny. It's the secret of the outings, I replied. Then I asked, would you like to see what I mean? Yes, please show us, answered Denny. I turned towards the bathroom and called out, Joni, could you please come out and say hi to Danny and Denny? Who is Joni? You told us this was an all-men's only outing, said Denny. Mom also told us you fool around with other women, added Danny. Before I could respond, Joni entered the room. Hi boys, Joni greeted them, and the boys couldn't help noticing that Joni's voice sounded just like their Uncle John's. For a solid minute, both boys stared at Joni, mouths open. Then in unison, they exclaimed, Uncle John. That's right, but here at the outings, I'm your Uncle Joni, Joni clarified. This is the secret of our family's all-male outings. It gives the men of the family a chance to dress up as women in a secure and safe environment without the whole world finding out, I explained. You mean you want us to dress up like girls? Denny nearly shouted. Yes, just for this weekend. I want you to experience it and see what it's like. If you still hate the idea afterwards, you won't have to come to any more outings. All I ask is that you give it a try, I urged. What if we decide we don't want to try it? Asked Danny. Then you'll be out of place, as everyone else will be dressed up. Besides, there are no other male clothes here besides what you're wearing, I pointed out. Does Kirk like dressing up? Asked Denny. He certainly does, I confirmed. He's been looking forward to your first outing. Denny then turned to Danny. Let's try it just once. I've always wanted to know what it feels like to dress like a girl. Then he turned back to me and asked, dressing like a girl doesn't mean we're weird, does it? John's not weird, and I'm certainly not weird. Look at all the fathers and sons who have been coming to the outings. They can't all be weird, Joni chimed in. Still uncertain, Danny asked, does Mom know the truth about all of this? Yes, she does. I told her 2 weeks after we were married. I even offered to stop attending the outings if she objected. Instead, she decided to give it a try. She's never regretted giving me permission to come. It also gives her some time to herself without worrying about me chasing other women, I explained. I'm willing to try it once, and only once, said Danny. Then he admitted something unexpected. To tell you the truth, there's a dress I've always wanted to try wearing. Which one is that? If we don't have it, maybe one of the others does, Joni suggested. It's a dress meant for a younger girl, but I've always liked it, Danny confessed. Stop teasing us and tell us what kind it is, I prompted. It's the dress I've seen in the Disneyland commercials. Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty wears it, and the girl next to her wears the exact same dress, I recalled aloud. After a brief consideration, I headed to the closet and swiftly found what I was looking for. Holding it out to show Danny, I asked, like this. That's it. That's the dress, Danny exclaimed. It's even the same light blue color. I knew right then that one of my boys was hooked. Now for the other. Turning to Denny, I asked, is there any type or color of dress you'd like to try on first? Not really, Denny replied. I never really thought about wearing a dress. I have an idea, if it's okay with you, I proposed. What? Denny asked. How about a copy of the dress I wore at my first outing? I suggested. If you think I should, said Denny. I returned to the closet and emerged a minute later with the dress. The look in Denny's eyes confirmed that I had just hooked my other son. Watching as my sons put on their panties and bras, I knew I would have company on the drive to the outing. Sorting through the wigs, I found a match for the hairstyle in the commercial for Danny. I also gave Denny the same wig I had worn 25 years before. Dad, I have a question, said Denny. What is it, dear? I responded. If Uncle William attends these outings, does that mean Josh will be attending too? Josh is Julia's son. Yes, he will attend his first meeting 2 weeks after his 13th birthday, but attendance after that will be up to Josh, I informed Denny. Joni finally spoke up. I can't quite put my finger on it. There's something in this room that's out of place. Turning to the girls, she asked, can you girls help me figure out what it is? Unable to contain their giggles, they both replied, it's Daddy. He's still dressed like a man. I headed towards the closet, but Joni stopped me. Deanna, your dress is hanging in the bathroom. How did you know which dress I was going to wear tonight? I asked curiously. I didn't pick it out, someone else did, Joni answered. In the bathroom, I found a dress on a hanger covered in plastic, with a note attached. Asterisk asterisk my dearest asterisk asterisk. Asterisk I can't be there in person tonight as you present our daughters. I wanted to contribute to this occasion, so I thought this dress would be a perfect gesture on my part. Asterisk. Asterisk asterisk your ever-loving wife asterisk asterisk. Asterisk Sandra asterisk. The dress I found resembled those worn by actresses at the Academy Awards. As I hurried to retrieve some of my fancier undergarments, I turned accusingly to Joni. You knew about this all along? Yes, I did. Who do you think brought that dress up here? She replied with a smile. As I slipped into this beautiful dress from my wife, I silently vowed, though I meant it for her ears, I won't forget this, and I'll find a very special way to repay you. For this and for the wonderful life you've allowed me to enjoy. Joni, Denny, and Danny looked like they could catch flies when I emerged from the bathroom. All three had their mouths hanging open in shock at my appearance in the dress. We didn't have much time before the first bell would ring. Stop standing there with your mouths open, girls. We need to get your makeup on. In unison, They both asked, "Who gave you the dress, Deanna?" "Your mom did. She wanted to be a small part of the presentation tonight," I replied. I then showed Dorleen and Delphine how to apply their makeup while Joni fetched the camera. When she returned, she reminded me of something. "Deanna, we haven't given these beautiful young ladies their new names yet." "Yes, Daddy, what are our feminine names?" asked Dorleen. "We can call Danny Danny, but I need a different name." "We'll be changing Danny's name too. Dorleen, your new name is Dorleen. Danny, yours is Delphine. We didn't know your genders until you were born, but we knew we were having twins. These were the names your mom and I picked out if you had been born girls." The first bell rang. "What's that?" asked Dorleen. "They're calling the others to the dining hall," I answered. Joni got up and left. "Shouldn't we be going too?" Delphine asked. "Normally, one ring calls us to gather, but tonight the first bell calls the others. The second will signal that everyone is in the dining hall. This way, I can introduce my daughters to the whole family. Then each of the others will come up and introduce themselves to you, giving you both their given and feminine names." I felt immense pride as I watched my beautiful daughters stand in line while the others introduced themselves. I knew without a doubt that I had upheld my family's legacy. Now, some of you might be wondering how my father handled my brother-in-law's first outing. It was the summer after my high school graduation, just 2 weeks after Julia's marriage to William, when she dropped her bombshell. "So, when do you all plan on taking my husband to one of your outings and dressing him up as a woman? I'd like to know so I can plan a weekend without my husband." Every face in the room turned, except for my mom's. "What are you talking about, dear?" asked my dad. "Mom told me all about the men's-only family outings that both of you attend, Jenny." "That's right, Deanna, I even know both of your feminine names," Julia said. She told me before Deanna went on her first outing. "Melinda, how could you?" my dad asked my mom. Julia kept pestering me about these outings, asking why there wasn't an all-women's family outing. "I finally gave in and told her the truth," answered my mom. "I haven't told anyone, and I think it's a wonderful idea. If it can keep my marriage as happy as yours, William can go to these outings every weekend," Julia added. "Besides, I've found some information that will be very useful." "What information is that?" I asked. "William has played dress-up before and liked it. He gave it up because he was worried it might make him seem gay," Julia revealed. "I've also subtly questioned William's mom and found out what William's name would have been if he had been born a girl." "What would his name have been?" I inquired. "Yasmin, that's what his name would have been," Julia answered before continuing with more details. "We waited 5 months after their marriage before William, my dad, and Ben sat down to discuss the outings and the trust fund. So, I'll receive $100,000 on my 8th anniversary just for attending one of these outings and keeping quiet about what happens there," said William. "And I can use the money for anything I want, not just family expenses." "The trust fund is entirely yours to use as you see fit," said Ben. "And what about the interest-free loans Julia mentioned?" asked William. "They're still available. You can borrow money for student loans, a house, or starting a business, as long as it benefits the family," Ben explained to William. As William signed the necessary paperwork, he asked, "What makes these outings so special?" "We can't tell you until this weekend," my dad replied. "From what I've heard, though, I think you'll want to attend more than just one outing." My dad then asked me, "Deanna, could you arrive early and get dressed? Wait in the master bedroom's bathroom?" "Okay," I replied. I arrived at the lodge at 5:30 in my used Ford Pinto, purchased with savings and a small loan from the family, to be repaid from my trust fund so I could have a car for college. Just in time, I slipped into the bathroom of the master bedroom as Dad and William walked into the lodge. From the bathroom, I could hear every word spoken in the master bedroom. "This bedroom is huge," William commented. "And you're telling me it's just for you and me?" "Yes, it is. We rarely use this room, only when a new member joins us for the first time," my dad explained. "I noticed Dean's car in the parking lot. Won't he need to use this room? Asked William. No, he has a room to himself, my dad assured him. We're here to reveal a big secret that no one else is supposed to know about. William cut to the chase. How would you like to dress in women's clothes for the weekend? My dad asked. I couldn't see William's face, but his voice betrayed his surprise. Are you kidding me? Is this some kind of initiation for these so-called outings? No, it's not an initiation, replied my dad calmly. I just thought you wouldn't want to feel out of place. Out of place? How could I possibly feel out of place? Asked William incredulously. When you're the only one dressed like a man while the rest of us enjoy embracing our feminine side, answered my dad. Feminine side? William's voice rose. Are you telling me these outings are for the men of this family to dress up like women? Yep, confirmed my dad. These outings have been a tradition for 5 generations. The only thing that's changed is the style of clothes we wear. So, cross-dressing has been going on that long? How could you keep such a big secret from Melinda? William pressed. Melinda knows all about it. I told her a couple of weeks after we got married. Most husbands tell their wives. Some even dress up at home when they're alone, my dad explained. How am I supposed to explain this to Julia? How do I tell her that 5 months into our marriage, I discover I'm different? William sounded conflicted. My dad's voice sharpened. Let me tell you once and for all, just because a man enjoys dressing up as a woman does not make him gay. Yes, some gay men do enjoy dressing up, but dressing up does not automatically make you gay. And as for Julia, she already knows, my dad continued. Melinda told her before Dean's first outing. So, Dean likes to dress up too? William asked, trying to grasp the situation. Yes, he does. He's in the bathroom right now. Would you like to see? Offered my dad. Deanna, could you come here, please? I heard my dad call out. Deanna? William questioned. Each of us has a feminine name, explained Dad. Do I choose my own, or does someone pick it for me? William asked. I knew right then and there that we had a new member joining our outings. Your name was chosen for you before you were born, replied my dad. How did my mom know about this before I was born? And what is my name? William queried. It's Yasmin. Your mom didn't know. Before a child is born, parents often have both a boy's name and a girl's name picked out. If you had been born a girl, your name would have been Yasmin. At that moment, I entered the room. Wow! William exclaimed for a solid minute. Then he asked, if you can make me look that good, when can we start? We can start as soon as you get out of those men's clothes, I replied. It didn't take Yasmin long to change into her outfit. You've helped me with everything else. Where is the dress you want me to wear? Both Dad and I assisted Yasmin in coordinating her clothes with the dress she would wear. It's hanging in the bathroom, I informed him, having brought it up earlier that day. With the dress, Yasmin found a note from Julia. Yasmin, I know all about the outings, including the name you'll be using. This note is to tell you that I approve. If these outings make our marriage as happy and strong as my parents, you can attend as many as you want. Remember during our honeymoon when you commented on a woman's dress and I thought you were interested in someone else? You were actually saying how much you'd like to see me in that dress. What you didn't know was that I bought it, not for myself to wear, but for you to enjoy. All my love always. Julia.